What life plot twist left you speechless and thinking, is this even real life? Didn't happen to me, but to a co-worker. At the height of the dot-com boom, co-worker gives notice that he's taking a job with another company. Gives notice. At his new job, he will be the first worker in our city. So the plan for him to work from home for a while. Before the notice period is up, our company, his current company, buys the company he's going to go work for. First week or so he's working at his new assignment from home, but since he now works for the company he just left, they ask him to come into his original office and take his original desk. A new manager started at a restaurant I worked at a few years back. Transferred in from another store. Own him. Couldn't really put my finger on it, but it made me so uncomfortable I even mentioned it to the franchise owner. Nothing super bad, just I know this is silly, but something about him isn't right. Within 2 weeks he was arrested for stealing literally thousands of dollars. He was basically waiting until the restaurant closed and refunding a bunch of tickets and pocketing the cash. He left a paper trail big enough to drive on. Each is at school one time about random stuff, and ended up in a conversation where I mentioned that my grandfather was a music teacher and played in a band doing just nightclub circuits in the 50s, 60s. She asked his name, and when I told her, she said though he taught me music in middle school. We called him Pops, then we both laughed. Maybe not the most outlandish coincidence, but it did make me realize how small the world can be. He died when I was very young, so it was cool to meet someone who knew him. Little town I grew up in had these two car dealerships on opposite sides of town, one Chevy, one Ford. They were bitter rivals, attack ads, shit-talking salesmen, billboard wars, you name it. When the owner of the Chevy dealership died, it came out he'd also owned the Ford dealership by way of a shell company. No one saw that coming, including a lot of the higher-ups who worked at the dealerships. My first husband leaving me when I was pregnant. We were married 5 years. He never wanted his son. The woman he left me for was older, ugly, lazy, and never worked. I started working full-time as a senior in high school at age 17. I supported him when he'd get fired from jobs and didn't want to work. He hurt me so much that I made a decision to never have any more children. I never regretted my choice. At dead Christmas morning 2022, and I got a call from my stepfather saying she was going to the hospital. He couldn't go because he had severe muscular dystrophy and was bedridden and was unresponsive. When I finally got the call that she died, I was looking at her Facebook account, and 21 minutes prior to her death, she was on Facebook telling people Merry Christmas. She was 71. My brother joined the military shortly after my father died. I saw him on TV a few months later on national news being interviewed about a major controversy that occurred during his deployment, in which he was a central figure. I was shocked that my mild-mannered brother was being accused of terrible crimes. I never saw him again, and he's still in prison, not really sure what to believe. In the span of 3 hours, phone died, got wet, stopped working. Car died, hooray for corroded battery terminals. Marriage died, wife said she wanted a divorce and was called a move-in with my coworker who, as it turns out, was about to be promoted and would be a supervisor to me. Xbox died, red ring of death. After that last one I thought, okay God, now you're just being petty. Knew this guy forever, and he ran into my wife at the local Stop and Shop. I called him and got his VM. He did the same, just on my end. I finally got a night off and called him to go hang out, and his was disconnected. I looked him up and Google listed an obit from a few nights prior. My sibling revealed they had lost most of our family money gambling, and their plan was to win it back. Our mother refused to take any legal action, then passed away a couple of months later. The games are just beginning. One found a wallet with $500 in it when I was 14. Unfortunately, I looked for some sort of ID, and it ended up being a kid I knew in high school, so I just found him in school and gave it to him. I really wanted to keep it LOL. My most recent partner, and I had our second date interrupted by no less than 3 deaths in the family to in hers. One in mine. We rescheduled a 4th time and had a great time in the end, but it felt really strange. I was pretty shocked when I figured out my husband was cheating on me with his barely 19-year-old cousin. He was 39. Yes, I left. Then his Catholic family said I should forgive. When I discovered that my long-lost twin sibling had been living in the same city as me for years without either of us knowing, it felt like something out of a movie. Squatters having rights and claiming to own something they never paid for, while the owners still pay the mortgage property taxes. Probably when my parents, and I was living with them, dropped everything and moved to NH in 2012 from GA. Total paradigm shift. While out on the town with a friend, we happened to run across her dad and his other family paying for daycare. It's so expensive, but at the same time you don't want to skimp on it. Carrying a baby for 9 months, only for him to die 10 days before my induction date. I broke my neck in a drunk driving accident and I'm walking. Pretty surreal.